What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Bronen Jump Episode 2. I am joined once again by Cody, also known as Bonesbrook on YouTube, and Jonathan Green Knight Gaming, also can be found on YouTube. And we are going to talk about Pokemon Adventures Volume 2. This covers, I think, chapters 15 through 27. It introduces I guess it formally introduces. We see Green loosely at the end, but we finally get to see her and her personality and everything in this chapter. And she's around for the first couple, and it really starts jumping up right after that. But Cody, what do you think about Green in the first couple chapters that she's introduced here in Volume 2?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Green. I think she's changed the tone a little bit, becomes a little more kind of goofy for the bit she's in. She's just kind of funny. She's a little different than the other two boys. Especially, she's a little more like Red. Like, they're a little more loosey-goosey. I just really like her. Though, speaking of Green, we also get Bulbasaur's evolution right away, which, minor aside, is I don't like the evolutions in the manga. They're very uneventful. But Green herself, I think she's a lot of fun. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Um, I like Green as well. I think that we have discussed off camera that Green is me and Cody's favorite character. Obviously, her first chapter specifically is very light, but as we go on, she kind of gets what I would argue is probably the most definitively out there personality of the three of them. She's not the Sasuke, where Blue is. She's not the Naruto like Red. She is her own thing. She doesn't fall into the I'm just a girl. She's also a con artist, which makes her a lot of fun to see. Um, we get to see her kind of mess around with her Pokemon a little bit. Obviously, we'll get more into her in the next volume, which is why she's my favorite. But yeah, here she gets to do a lot of fun tricks, and over the next couple chapters, we get to see her kind of do some more fun with her scheming side.
Yeah, and the first couple chapters, as you guys kind of alluded to, the pacing's a little bit more lighthearted. It's more of an introduction to Green. They do kind of loosely infiltrate Team Rocket. You see that she's not completely an asshole, but she is definitely out for herself. And we also get the fun little thing of Red and Blue accidentally grabbing each other's Pokeballs, which leads to some fun little skits and training montages of Red training Blue's Pokemon, Blue training Red's, and also just you get to see how much of a difference they each have an approach as the Pokemon are completely different. And then we really start getting into some more heavy shit as we kind of meet Erica and Red starts trying to get his fourth badge. Cody, how do you feel about the whole like Pokemon getting swapped? Do you think they handled it in a good way? And what are your thoughts on Erica after she's introduced?
Yeah, so I like the Pokemon swap thing. It's kind of an interesting little tidbit. Even though, like, can you not tell like what you poke? Because it's been alluded to in the series, like they can tell what Pokeballs they're grabbing without looking at them. So it's kind of weird that here they just kind of forget that and say, let's just have a little comic mix-up. But no, I think it's kind of fun. It's a fun little chapter. It's also the right pace. It's only a chapter long, so it's not much dragged out. And as far as Erica goes, Erica's super interesting. We also get the Pikachu learning his Shadow Clone Jutsu, which is super interesting and super weird. It's just how they animate Substitute, and Substitute's kind of weird in all of its appearances, but the first one here is super, like, not expected at all. But no, I think Erica's kind of interesting, and no, I like it.
Yeah, I like these chapters as well. Actually, one thing I really like that I'm glad I was worried we were going to skip over this chapter, but I'm really glad we brought up the trading Pokemon chapter, is I love Blue's reaction of like, Red must be a better trainer than I thought. My Machoke only evolved under his care. It's like, bro, your uncle, you're like your grandpa's Professor Oak. Has he not taught you how trade evolution works yet? So I really thought that was fun. I think it also shows off. It's probably the best chapter for showing off their personalities differences. And then Erica is great. I love Erica's introduction because at this point in time, we have been introduced to 3 evil gym leaders and only 2 good ones, which means that Erica is kind of a little bit more of a 50-50. So her introduction, where she sets her up as an evil gym leader only to pull out the rug out from under you, is fantastic. I was very happy with her introduction.
Yeah, I gotta say, I haven't really read Volume 2 before this, so I was they got me with the Erica thing at the very beginning, because I was like, oh shit, the EV got experimented on, Erica wanted it, she's evil. But then she was basically like, haha, it was a test, you passed, you're kind-hearted, you can help me and my friends defeat Team Rocket, Red, with the power of friendship. And he gets V, which is an EV that can evolve at will, essentially, into Vaporeon, Flareon, or Jolteon, which is really cool. And then, yes, the Shadow Clone Jutsu, it is literally animated like Pikachu's soul is leaving its body after Vileplume gave it those hands. I was completely caught off guard by that panel. I was like, oh shit, what is going on here? Is Pikachu dead? This is an unexpected turn. But obviously, Rid proves that he's not a piece of shit, and Erica trusts him, and he moves on with Eevee now in his party, and he goes on a fun little trip to the Safari Zone, and he also runs into Giovanni unexpectedly. Cody, what do you make of the Safari Zone trip and the random Giovanni encounter?
Yeah, the Giovanni encounter is super weird. We'll get to that more later in different episodes, but in general, Giovanni has a lot of just nonchalant appearances in the arcs. But yeah, here it's super just out of nowhere. But I love the Safari Zone. But right at the very end of the Eric chapter, we do get our first glimpse at Sabrina. I don't think we see her for the rest of the volume, but she shows up at the very end. And then we get the Safari Zone, which is a lot of fun. I like the little mechanical Pidgeot that joins him, and it's kind of funny that Red breaks the rules and then screws himself over and doesn't he like punch I think he punches a Nidoking at one point. It's just, yeah, there's a lot of kind of one-off things here in this volume, but it's all just got really good energy, and I think the whole Safari Zone is honestly really intense. Like, he doesn't have any of his Pokemon with him. It's, I think, the first time outside of the Surge stuff where I feel like Red feels like he's in danger. And it's I like it a lot.
Yeah. So as for Giovanni's appearance, I think it's really good. I think he really well kind of hides his overall nature in that, even though the first time reading through it, I didn't recognize that it was Giovanni, and like until the end, and which, by the way, brutal, man. Man just straight up axes those Magmars. That was crazy. The Safari Zone level was great, though. I really like, first of all, I'm a sucker for Jurassic Park. Loved the little reference at the beginning. But I think it's probably the best place I've seen for making Pokemon feel like they are actually wild animals instead of just pets. Where things like Nidoking, it's like, oh yeah, they have a mating season, and if you interrupt them, they will kill you. By the way, they're poison type, so they have acid in their claws. Or like Victory Bell just like straight up eats people. Have fun. It's like, oh right. This is a real world of really terrifying Pokemon, and I love it.
Yeah, as a, big time Nidoking fan, I really appreciated that we got to see Nidoking for basically 2 chapters here. And I love the way that they drew him. He looks so badass and menacing in so many of these panels. And also, like, the Victory Bell thing. Like, how cool is it that Victory Bell was basically like, I'm going to murder this guy so all my boys can evolve. Need to give them top grade fertilizer, and the best fertilizer is ground up children. Everybody knows it. And then, yeah, the Magmar kill. Again, Pokemon manga with some of the most brutal defeats. Although it seems somewhat reminiscent to what happened to the Graveler in the first volume, where they just froze it and then broke him into chunks. But yeah, the casual Giovanni thing kind of out of nowhere, and that kind of leads us into the last 4 chapters, which is all about well, the last three are all about Team Rocket, but the fourth one, there is the random Dragonite one, which actually is a lot of fun in that panel. The Dragonite one is one of my favorite chapters of the whole thing. Yeah, so Cody, what do you make of the Dragonite chapter and then the battles with the birds?
Yeah, Dragonite's, yeah, like I said, super pretty interesting. It's also kind of interesting how Dragonite's drawn in like almost every panel here. Like I don't know if it was just the artist having fun, but like he's kind of very stretchy and like different. Like he's kind of chubby in one and more lengthy in another. But yeah, now I like the battle. We also get to see Poliwrath being back to being a jobber, which is his role after evolving. He got one cool battle, and now he's back to being the Yamcha. But we get you get more Snorlax. There's a lot of Snorlax in this chapter actually. Red uses him quite a bit, considering he I think caught him and never used him in the last chapter. But yeah, we get the Gyarados versus Dragonite battle, and then we go on to the birds, and we get our look at Blaine here, I believe as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Blaine is honestly out of all the gym leaders, I think Blaine might be my favorite gym leader of the Kanto ones at least. I like Blaine's whole setup and his whole story a lot. But yeah, we get. Did we just get Articuno here? I think.
Um,
But
they give us Articuno in one, and then you see Moltres in the Blaine chapter.
that's right. We do get Moltres at the very end. But yeah, no, I think the battles are really pretty. Like I think the art, how the artist draws fire, especially. I think fire is one of his best attributes. I mean, granted, fire is just cool, but I like how the fire is drawn in the Moltres and the Blaine stuff. And yeah, I think this is definitely some of the best action that the series has had, and especially after the first chapter. First volume has had some fun little stuff, but I feel like things were kicked up here quite a bit. There's a lot of really good and creative panels, and yeah, I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. These final few chapters are great. First of all, I do like Dragonite's size. Like, Snorlax was big enough to be blocking a row, but Dragonite's still bigger than him, which I think is really fun because Dragonite's always picked it as kind of a larger Pokemon, but like maybe around 5, 6 feet. Now he's like 10, 12 feet. He feels like an actual dragon. I think that's a lot of fun. As Cody alluded to, he has a lot of fun with how they draw him, kind of being this, like sometimes he's Barney, sometimes he's an actual dragon, and I think that's a lot of fun. He also gets an amazing final, like just battle with Gyarados and Snorlax. Like he feels like an actual threat, like he was back in Gen 1. But then we go on to seeing the legendary birds, which is very interesting in that while they feel like powerful Pokemon, I wouldn't say that they necessarily feel like legends yet, which is something that I do applaud the manga for doing later, but right here, not so well. But they are fun. They do get to have some cool moments. And we get to meet Blaine, who is revealed to be a former member of Team Rocket, which is fun. I don't think that was ever in the games at all at this point, but would later become a part of it, which was kind of fun. So there you go. Looks like the game's adapted from the manga.
I want to say that it was alluded to that he was part of Team Rocket because all the Mewtwo stuff is in the Cinnabar Mansion, but it has been a long time since I played the base games, so I could be wrong on that. In terms of the manga, that Dragonite versus Gyarados Hyper Beam panel might be one of my favorite panels in the whole thing. Also, the Snorlax like charging Dragonite was also really well drawn. Yeah, I agree with what you guys said about the birds not really feeling that special here. But at least Articuno and Moltres get panels and chapters. Zapdos just gets captured off screen, and there's like one mention of it. So Zapdos gets even more jobbed out than Articuno and Moltres. Um, but yeah, it's interesting how they make that all frame out, and then Blaine kind of realizing the error of his ways and trying to rectify it is a really good story here, and it picks up right into the last chapter, which was weird, and we get the infamous evil Professor Oak that was in the trading card game, and a nice little, yeah, a super weird kind of ending compared to all the action we had. But what are your thoughts on the evil Professor Oak, Cody?
That is a good question. I, I don't remember what you're talking about. I was like, I hope he doesn't ask me. Oh, that's right, at the very end.
Yeah, so it's the final chapter.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, I hope he didn't ask me because I don't remember that. I was flipping through as quick as I could.
Fuck. What page is it?
Oh yeah, so we do get Sabrina. Okay, sorry, I sound like a dumbass then when I said Sabrina didn't show up. I forgot she showed up in the very last chapter.
Yeah, how
But
dare you?
I know. But yeah, no, visually it's super. It's interesting. Like, if nothing else, I mean, obviously we all like the series, but if nothing else, we get things visually in this that you do not see in any other Pokemon media, and like with how the evil Professor Oak is portrayed. Like, yeah, he had that one card, but he's portrayed here like he freaking bends a freaking crowbar and he's got that growl, and it's a good appearance for Sabrina. I think all three of the evil Team Rocket gym leaders all have really strong first appearances.
Yeah. As he mentioned, I like I think this final chapter is very cool. Getting to see Professor Oak, which, by the way, I'm gonna say the panel of him like his almost transformation as before he starts clawing at Red is crazy. I love that panel, especially later when we start to see his weird mustache. I think that's just a very funny panel. But this chapter is really cool. It adds a lot of menace as we enter into the final third of the original trilogy. And we get to see Sabrina, and who essentially proves herself to be the competent one of the main three. Is Surge was doing well, but he got stopped by Red. Koga got stopped by Red and Blue twice. Sabrina, as of yet, has yet to really be stopped, and instead has curb stomped Red and kidnapped Professor Oak. So Sabrina out here kicking butt and proving to be, probably the competent of the three.
Yeah, and the fact that she's so strong psychically, obviously the psychic type gym leader, that they literally cannot enter Saffron City right now is a fun little caveat too. And yes, the reveal of evil Professor Oak actually being Kadabra in disguise, performing illusions on Red and his Pokemon was very fun. And then yes, the Sabrina speech at the end, and as Jonathan said, she hasn't been defeated yet, so she's still a threat. Koga and Surge, you're kind of like, seen this, but Sabrina's still got that mystique and the aura about her, and, kind of calling shit, running around with Kadabra. It looks really fun, setting up into Volume 3. So that being said, guys, what were your thoughts overall on the volume, and what were some of your favorite parts that we haven't quite touched on in this review so far, Cody?
Yeah, as a whole, I like the volume. I think there's a good blend of still being kind of funny and goofy while also kicking things up and getting serious into the final arc. And we don't get anything as violent as the freaking Arbok thing and the zombie thing, but no, I think it's fun overall. One thing I did want to mention, which is kind of interesting to me, and I even looked it up to be sure before I said it, is when we meet Green, she has War Turtle. Squirtle never makes an official appearance. He only is in a silhouette and a brief flashback. Squirtle never shows up actually in the main series in the present day at all for the Red Blue, and I think that's kind of a weird omission.
Yeah, I like the manga a lot. I think that, in my opinion, the first few chapters are great. As we've said, Red is one of our favorite characters. Getting Eevee introduced is really fun. Eevee is probably my favorite Pokemon of the original trilogy. Just having a lot of, having probably the most dark story behind it. And then, Savari's Zone's great. Love just the brutality there. Like, Red stabbing out a Nidoking's eye is crazy. And the final chapter leading us into the final volume of Red and Blue. Sorry, not yellow yet. Is a lot of fun as well. I enjoyed this volume a lot. I don't know that I would say I enjoyed it more than the first one, but I think as a whole it's a really good volume.
Yeah, no, it's a great volume. We kind of talked about the pacing, but I think the pacing kind of made it better because you got a little bit of everything, and then the action kicks off. I kind of already spoke about some of my favorite panels, but as you said, The Nidoking stuff was crazy. I liked the throwing rocks. That never kind of made sense to me as a kid playing it, but at least the manga has the throwing rocks. One thing I was kind of thinking about, and get your guys' thoughts on it. I know in the anime, Ash catches a whole herd of Tauros, and essentially in this, Red catches a ton of Victreebel, a ton of Nidokings as he's going through. I never really kind of thought about it, but I guess maybe that might be like a parallel that they kind of drew from. Like each time both times they go to the Safari Zone, they come out with an ass load of Pokemon, and then the battles with Articuno, like the way Muck is shown here is super cool. Like Koga's Muck looks like a badass, and I really appreciate that. I love the Dragonite panels, and yeah, the most brutal thing we get in this one is Giovanni smashing up some frozen Magmar, which I don't know how you freeze a Magmar. Their bodies are literally like lava, but whatever. Go off, Pokemon manga. Go off. But I would definitely recommend this for anybody, especially fans of Pokemon, but fans of just like lighthearted, fun manga in general would also really enjoy this. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Definitely enjoyed it. I'd say it's a solid like 3.5, 4 out of 5. Kind of gets everything you want. Easily digestible.
Thought you were gonna say out of 10. I was like, what are we recommending here? I hate
This
5
is
points,
this
guys.
is dog shit. This is a dog shit manga. 3.5 out of 10. I'd rather fucking dig my eyes out with a grapefruit spoon.
Oh yeah, last closing thoughts I had is we see, I don't remember if the anime ever does this, but when he gets Red's Aerodactyl, it's got its mouth closed a lot, which we never see in the in-game sprites, and I hate it. I don't like mouth closed Aerodactyl.
Yeah,
That's weird.
mouth breathing Aerodactyl is much better. Give me the mouth breathing Eli Manning like Aerodactyl.
I love how we didn't even touch on it until right now. We never once brought up him getting the old Amber or reviving Aerodactyl.
Until he looks funny.
That's no chance right now.
Hey, last one we went on for an hour. We touched on everything, every single panel. This one we glossed over everything. We're not giving any spoilers on this 20-year-old manga.
Snape kills Dumbledore. The small guys in the Hobbit.
Oh, you can't spoil You can't spoil Star Wars like that, bro. It's not fun.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm gonna pull the plug. This has gone off the rails and quickly.
I was gonna say we derailed it.
But yeah, you guys, I would assume at this point you guys definitely recommend reading it based on what we've talked about.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love the Adventures manga.
All right. Well, if that's it, that's all we got for you guys. Thank you for tuning in for episode 2 of Bronen Jump. Just like this manga, this episode was much more easily digestible. Let us know in the comments if you prefer the longer, super in-depth style or this one where we kind of more casually talk about everything and briefly touch upon stuff. Yeah. Cody, Jonathan, anything before we sign out?
Nope.
Raspberries.
Raspberries indeed.
They're not gonna get the joke.
All right, everybody. We have been Bronen Jump. We will catch you guys on the next one.